I was a refugee. I was 9 years old when I left Cambodia. I was born in 1971. And so I was born into a very difficult time in history of Cambodia and of maybe of most of part of the world at that time, right? 1969, 1968. A lot of wars. I was lucky with my family. We were able to survive the Khmer Rouge. And in 1979, at the end of the Khmer Rouge, we were able to escape to Thailand. And then just by luck, by some good spirit looking over us, we were relocated to the US in 1984 through many different refugee camps and all of that. I studied painting in my undergrad years, and I had a master's degree in painting as well, and finished that in 1999. 2 years after that, I felt that it was not enough for me to be in the US. There was just, with my family being there, and I'm sort of the black sheep in the family making art. It just didn't make sense for me to have so much pressure. And being an artist, from my background, it's a very unlikely prospect of having any way of making a living and being happy. At the same time, I felt that, being in the United States, that environment was also not good for me making my work, because I have to do so many other things to just make a living. So I decided that it was time to go back to Cambodia. And I've never been back to Cambodia since I left. So, the first time I came back, I pretty much just fell at home and continued to paint for about 2 years until I found that I was just going nowhere with painting either. And so, my mother would call me all the time saying, why don't you come back home and work at the family shop? So that was the prospect that I had. And I said, well, if you wanted me to just be an alcoholic, sure, I'll come back. So I struggled on, and I guess it was my luck again. At that time, feeling that painting was not enough, I had to find some other way to make art. I had to find some other way. The thing was that the painting, why it wasn't enough was because it just didn't seem to have any effect. I was making these things on this flat surface in my studio, and it didn't make any sense to other people. It was some kind of struggle in my head because of all the painters I knew and the history that I had in school and all that stuff, and it was missing something. And at that time, I made my first sculpture, the very first sculpture I've ever made out of rattan. I made the first sculpture out of rattan because the rattan was just across the street from me. There was a rattan shop, and I wasn't thinking sculpture, I was thinking form, just to make a form. So that form basically becomes a kind of three-dimensional drawing. And when I put it on the wall, it just felt, it felt like I've never seen it, nothing like that before. And so I was very lucky again. The French Cultural Center director at that time, his name is Guy Isongju. He spent 2 years in Cambodia and basically saw the sculpture on the floor because I didn't think much of it. Told me that the sculpture gave him goosebumps, and that this is the first modern art he's ever seen in Cambodia. I had no idea what that meant, of course, at that time. But he said, if you want to continue in this direction, I will give you a solo exhibition in 4 months. So basically, for the next 4 months, I eat, sleep, drink sculpture. I bought a lot of rattan and I just started making. And you see I have no style. It's really just very simple grids. Because I don't know any weaving or anything. People often say my work is weaving, but I don't know how to weave. So it's basically using a wire on bamboo or on rattan, because rattan is flexible and bamboo is sturdy. And I learned that because I needed to make a standing sculpture, and I realized rattan doesn't stand up very well. But my method was always very simple. And that simplicity, I think, I find joy in that simplicity, because it reminds me, and I said this many times before, that it goes back to my childhood, growing up, you know, in the Khmer Rouge, making toys, making arrows, making slingshots, making fishing things, traps, rat traps, you know, that sort of thing. And I really enjoy that process. I love working in a quiet place. I love just being with the work all the time. So that's the sort of general background of where I come from with this work.